about that for one time?
The words separation of church and state aren't actually in the Constitution. They come from an 1802 Thomas Jefferson letter who called for a, quote, eternal separation between church and state. But over time, the courts interpreting the First Amendment have made it the law of the land. Under Trump, however, we have seen that wall systematically eroded in favor of a particular brand of Christian nationalism.
Now, who is this? This is Donald J. Trump. Now, we've mentioned this before. There is no difference between Donald Trump and Barack Obama, between Obama and Bush, between Bush and Clinton, between Clinton and Papa Bush, or Papa Bush and Ronald Reagan. They are all the same individuals, all of them. Now, and it's amazing that when this man was running for office around 2016, his slogan was that he was going to make America what? Great again. Now, does anybody know who that slogan came from? That came from Ronald Reagan. There's nothing new under the sun. Notice, anointed by God. Now, does the Bible say that Donald Trump is anointed by God to do a great work of evangelism in society today? Is that what the Bible says? So why is it that so many of us as evangelical Christians believe that Donald Trump was somehow anointed by God? Well, let's see. Now, again, we're talking about the mark of the beast. Now, we're going to seek to bring this to a close. This was one of the most striking themes in his election campaign, that he had been chosen by what? We're actually going to find out that he was chosen by the God of this world. All right, we're going to skip past this. Man by the name of A.T. Jones, Christian Bible expositor around the turn of the 20th century. Notice, the church was fully conscious, talking about the church in the first centuries, of her loss of what? Of God before she sought the power of the what? So when Christianity seeks the power of the state is when they have lost the power of what? The power of God. Had she not been, she never would have made any overtures to the imperial authority. This says, as long as therefore as any order or organization of people professing the gospel of Christ maintains in sincerity the principle of that gospel, so long the power of God will be what? Be with them. Then and only then does such an organization seek for another kind of power to supply the place of that which was what? So once the power of God is lost, they seek the power of the state to compensate for their apostasy. Does that make sense? Now, in light of that, does anybody know who this was? Man by the name of Constantine. Now, was Constantine a God-fearing Christian? No, he wasn't. Notice. This says, by the plain, unbiased facts of history, Constantine stands before the world as a confirmed and constant what? Hypocrite, a perjurer, and a many times what? And mind you, when you read his history, he did all of this murdering after he had converted to Christianity. Now, is it possible to be a murderer and still be a follower of Jesus Christ? It is impossible. All right, we're going to skip past this. Now, this is from an outlet called Church Militant. This is a Catholic outlet. It's amazing. These Catholic sources believe that Donald Trump is the new Constantine. Mr. President, you need to become Catholic and you need to convert what? Do you think that they are dead serious? About 4 years ago, Church Militant produced Vortex in the heat of the 2016 campaign. Constantine, of course, was the eventual sole emperor who defeated Maxentius in the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, just north central on October 28th, 312. The victory paved the way for what? Now, did it really pave the way for Christianity? No, it paved the way for Roman Catholicism. Now, we don't have time to deal with all the details, but they actually mentioned in this article that they believe that Mary who they call the goddess of heaven, actually put Donald Trump into office. Now, was that blasphemy? Lord have mercy. All right, this says, now let's notice what Constantine did. As to when and how it became customary to keep the first day of the week, the New Testament gives us no information. The first law about it was given by Constantine the Great, who in the year what? 321 AD, going past. In the Sunday law, there was given to the church the control of what? Of the civil power. So how did Roman Catholicism gain control of the state? By the Sunday law. By the Sunday law, 321 AD. This says, except in one thing, the Sunday law. So if Roman Catholicism is once again going to regain its power, how is that power going to be cemented? By a Sunday law, by using the civil power to force people to obey the Sunday. Does that make sense? All right, this is one by the name of Amy Coney Barrett. Does anybody know who this is? She is a Supreme Court justice. Now, what is this woman's religion? She is a Roman Catholic. Now, mind you, do most Roman Catholics understand what we're talking about today? No, they do not. Do you think that this information in love and in kindness needs to be given unto them? Yes. Because again, is Roman Catholicism a Christian religion? No, it is pagan. Amy Coney Barrett's nomination highlights the rise of Catholics on the Supreme Court. We're going to skip past this. Anybody ever heard of Project 2025? And there are even some Bible expositors saying that this Project 2025 is a nothing burger, that we don't need to worry about this. Lord have mercy. Presidential Transition Project. Conservatives have a plan to expand Donald Trump's powers. Unfortunately, because of time, we don't have time to go through all these details. You can research this for yourself on the internet. Anybody know who this is? J.D. Vance. Now, what is the religion of J.D. Vance? He is Roman Catholic. Does anybody remember when was the last time before Joseph Biden a Roman Catholic was a president? John F. Kennedy. Now, what happened to John F. Kennedy? He was assassinated. Now, unfortunately, the bulk of Roman Catholicism believed that John F. Kennedy was not a good Catholic. Reason being because he was not willing to fully bow down to the dictates of the Pope. Now, do you think that the Roman Catholic institution enjoyed the fact that they had this rebellious president Catholic as the president of the United States? Of course not. J.D. Vance is a Catholic post-liberal. Here's what that means. Now, mind you, when this says post-liberal, this is not talking about liberal versus conservative. Notice. This says post-liberalism, as its name suggests, is a rejection of liberalism. Liberalism refers not merely to the worldview of the American political left, but to the broader political philosophy that puts a premium on individual liberty. Now, does the Constitution enforce individual liberty? Yes, it does. So this is saying that J.D. Vance does not believe in the ideology of individual liberty. Now, is that scary? Now, you'll actually find out that the ideology that governs many of these Catholic politicians is something called Catholic social teaching. Anybody ever heard of that? All right, we're going to skip past this. Now, this is a man by the name of Charles Spurgeon. Anybody ever heard of Charles Spurgeon? Notice what he says about the Catholic institution. And it's amazing that I will see Christians quote Charles Spurgeon all the time, but they'll never quote this. Dignitaries of the Papal Confederacy are just now very prominent in benevolent movements, and we may be sure that they have ends to serve other than those which strike the public eye. The priest lives only for the benefit of the glory of God. A priest lives only for his what? For his church. This says, our ancient enemies have small belief in our common sense if they imagine that we shall ever be able to trust them after having so often beheld the depths of Jesuitical cunning and what? Duplicity. This says, of course, we shall be howled at as bigots, but we can afford to smile at that cry when it comes from the church which invented the what? No peace with Rome is the motto of reason as well as of religion. You see, family, this is real Protestantism. This is the Reformation that God is trying to once again swell in the breast of humanity. All right, we're coming down to an end again. This mark of the beast, this enforced Sunday legislation. Again, we read this before. This says it was the Holy Catholic Church that changed the day of rest from Saturday to Sunday. Did we clearly go through this in the Bible in our series? Yes, we have. This says 364 urged all persons to labor on the 7th day under penalty of what? Of anathema. So it wasn't just that they enforced Sunday observance, but they abolished the observance of the what? Of the Sabbath, of the true Sabbath. Notice, this is from the Catholic Church. I have repeatedly offered $1,000 to anyone who can furnish proof from the Bible that Sunday is the day we are bound to keep. The Bible says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, but the Catholic Church says, no, keep the first day of the week, and the whole world bows in what? Obedience. So when Sunday is being reverenced, who are we giving obedience unto? This great whore. All right, we read this already. And the act is a mark of her what? Ecclesiastical power. Again, when you see this imagery, what comes to your imagination? This is an artist's rendition of the two-horned beast. Do you think that this lamb is very happy? No, it's not. All right, so this is a man by the name of J.N. Andrews. He was the first Bible expositor to pinpoint the United States as being this two-horned beast. Notice what he says. The only civil government that has ever existed exhibiting lamb-like appearance in the symbol is what? It says a comparison of Revelation 13 proves that the two-horned beast and the false prophet are the same. What is the mark of the beast? It is the mark of the beast to whom the image was made, the first beast. But it is enforced by the two-horn, hence we understand it is an institution of the papacy enforced by what? By Protestantism. The number of the name of the beast is also to be enforced as a test of submission. And it says those that submit to this receive the vials of the wrath of God, the seven last what? Now the question is, how can we escape this mark of the beast? Is that a good question?